The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send us an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And if you'd like to find out about the other programming that is available to you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net. And, of course, we're heard around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and iHeartRadio. My guest this hour is Tara Greene, and Tara is a natural-born gifted psychic intuitive. Her awareness is that we are all multidimensional infinite souls. She is clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. Tara has experienced visions, dreams, and many metaphysical experiences throughout her life. She began delving into tarot as a teenager. Soon, many astrologers and spiritual teachers appeared in her life to guide her. Her mission is to bring enlightenment, awareness, and healing. She is honored to be of service in connecting with and helping so many individuals. Her website is www.taratarot.com. And Tara, welcome back to the X Zone.
Hey, Rob. Thank you so much. So nice to be back.
So tell me, is there anything new in the world of metaphysics?
Yes, I think there's a lot new. I think that people are receiving many new awarenesses and downloads, and I'm in touch with other psychics and people doing this kind of work all over the world. So, it never is stagnant. It's always growing. As people's consciousness gets higher, people are aware of more things,
Why do you think so many people now are getting tuned into the metaphysical world?
Because I think there's so much stress in the physical world. I think as we go more and more into the computer technological world, which takes us away from the natural world, I think it's kind of just a natural counterbalance, and especially that sense of technology taking over and getting more integrated into our lives is getting stronger and stronger. So I really think as that, becomes more, like it's something that we all do all the time,
right.
I think the equal balance is to go more spiritual.
As a psychic, are you seeing the questions that you get changing, or are they still the same questions that people, ever since I've been doing this show, seem to ask every psychic about their love, their finances?
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course. People are always concerned about that, but I think I feel a lot more, I attract people who are more interested in really wanting to know what their soul purpose is, how they can grow. They're very hungry to learn about astrology. Astrology is kind of going through this huge renaissance again because of the Internet. I think people are just more curious and more aware. They want to understand things at a deeper level.
How do we discover, or how can you help us discover what our soul purpose is?
Well, there's many ways to do that, and one of the really popular ways is to use tarot cards. And again,
right.
Tarot cards have become very popular. There's thousands and thousands of decks now.
Right.
It's a way of mirroring your own higher self. I like to think of it as a kind of mirror of your higher self, your unconscious. That's one way to do it. I mean, people do it through yoga. I mean, that's what yoga is meant for, to enhance your own spiritual development. And that's very popular, although I think it's used more as an exercise thing. And, not really true to its essence, which is very much, it's about yoga means to yoke the ego, yoke the spirit, People can use meditation. That's become very popular. They teach meditation in schools. The film director David Lynch has started this big foundation where he teaches meditation in schools, and it's been proven to stop bullying, violence, crime. So all of these things that were once considered quite esoteric or, exotic are really, becoming part of everybody's lives.
If this is becoming part of everybody's life, how are the people who are seeking their soul purpose and seeking the answers that are found within the realm of the metaphysical world, how are they going to be able to change the world into a direction of love, peace, and joy instead of the rat race world that we're in now?
Well, I think it's really interesting. A lot of these young millennials, I think they kind of get a rap, but they are very much more aware because they've grown up where, I found tarot cards when I was 6 years old or something. What was, when my time growing up was, there was no evidence out there, no information. It's everywhere now. And I think, they're going to have a much greater understanding of what's going on spiritually. But I think that people also have to take a stand that the way the culture has been set up all this time has to radically change.
You said the millennials are getting a bad rap. Why are they getting a bad rap?
Well, I think people think that they're, too entitled and a little bit too babied, and but I think a lot of them are much clearer. They're much more aware. They're much more conscious. They're more aware of what they eat. They're more conscious of, animal rights, gay rights, LGBTQ. It's very common for them. They just accept that. We were talking about going into the age of Aquarius. I see all of those things as very much an Aquarian kind of indication, although nobody knows exactly when the age of Aquarius is supposed to start. But these are all kind of symptoms, as you know what I mean, of, everybody's got the same rights. Women's rights, this is a really big issue this year. Women's rights coming forward. This is a kind of a tsunami of a rebalancing in the world's energy that's coming on really strong.
But is it going to succeed this time? In the past, people have tried it, and it's failed miserably.
Well, I think, again, there's more awareness because the Internet, which has its plus and its minuses, gives people more awareness. There's a lot of big changes coming this year because of astrology, because of where the planets are. And you're asking, will it succeed? So in astrology, you're talking about a big change or a revolution. Revolutions are not necessarily peaceful and easy, but the planet that governs revolution, which is the planet Uranus, and it's going to enter the sign of Taurus on May the 15th. And Taurus is an earth sign. So when you're dealing with these big, what they call these transpersonal planets, because they move so slowly, it takes Uranus 84 years to make one complete transit, they create major cultural generational changes. So, for example, Uranus is going to be in Taurus from May the 15th for the next 8 years. So we're looking at a big long-term change into 2026. So that can mean, the revolution gets very grounded. So people may actually really rebel against the technology because, like, AI is a big deal.
It is,
it could go either way. This is the thing. You know about AI, you know about Sophia?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so if Elon Musk kind of warns people against AI, but Uranus and Taurus could mean, all of that computer technology becomes embedded in our bodies, like people are being microchipped and people are, wired, you know what I mean? They want to transfer their consciousness into a computer. There are people who want that.
People
right?
are starting to believe in science fiction instead of reality.
But it's not science fiction. It's real right now.
But who in their right mind would want to be part of a computer?
But in my mind, don't even
that's
realize how much they are already.
I don't see how you can say that people are already part of a computer.
Well, okay, how much time do people spend on their cell phones every day?
Okay,
right.
But that doesn't mean they're part of it.
Sorry, what?
That doesn't mean they're part of it.
Well, they are in a sense, and there also is, Wi-Fi is really damaging to your body, to your system. People are being affected by this technology in ways that they don't understand what the long-term effects are. So that's what I'm saying. The kids that are more aware, there is this younger generation back to this. We're back to the earth, like back in the 60s, get back to the garden. That's the alternate the sort of moving the other way, people are going to realize, no, we don't want to become machines. We don't want AI to take over. You know what I mean? Like, some people are just so used to being with their computer on their phone, 24/7, that they are virtually part of that machine.
Well, that's because people are lazy. That's why.
You think they're lazy?
Oh, sure. It's easier to sit on the phone and use the computer on your phone than it is to actually go out and do something constructive. Why go out and play when I can sit on my fat duff and play on the computer? And the parents of today don't have enough balls to kick their kid on the butt off the couch and get them outside and playing. The parents have to take a lot of the responsibility. And I haven't seen one kid talking about the millennials going back to Earth and this and that and the other. They're worse than anybody because each and every one of them is married to high tech from the time they're 3 and 4.
See, but I think there's going to be a revolution against it. That's what I'm saying. Because Uranus is going, no, we're going to rebel against that. And Taurus, Uranus and Taurus means, no, we don't want all that high tech. We want to be real.
Sure.
We want to have real values. We want to have things that we can hold in our hands. So it can represent a kind of, there is a small movement of this where people like, old-fashioned, like computers and old-fashioned things that, you do yourself.
Tara, we've got to take a break. Please stand by. Exonation. Tara Greene is our special guest, www.taratarot.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and iHeartRadio from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Gwilda Wiyaka's latest book, The Science of Magic, Book of Mysteries, Volume 1, is the first book in a series based on her writings that open every episode of the Science of Magic radio show. Drawing on the subject matter of each guest, and armed with over 40 years' experience in shamanism, 35 years in alternative health, and degrees in psychology and religious studies, Gwilda introduces relevant and leading-edge information that supports spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Rich with wisdom and inspirational quotes packaged in digestible segments, this is a book that will pull you from cover to cover. It will also serve as a daily inspirational reading for years to come. The Science of Magic Book of Mysteries, Volume 1 is available at our website, tsompublications.com, amazon.com, and wherever fine books are sold. Back in Victorian England, a famous theologian posed a perplexing riddle. Why are the two top personalities in the Bible tagged with the numbers 7 and 11? Academics agree the answer is found in the stunning discovery of a hitherto secret Bible structure explained in a new book called The Genesis Grid. The discovery is so simple that preschool children could illustrate it. Certain claims are hugely controversial and may offend some, but at the X Zone, we've studied this awesome new book and agree with one expert, and I quote, "These discoveries appear to be beyond coincidence." So who or what hid this wonderful pattern in the Bible, and what might they do next? Find out more, X Zone Nation, and read reviews on www.genesisgrid.co.uk. That's www.genesisgrid.co.uk. Welcome back, everyone. Don't forget, you can always watch the X Zone TV show with yours truly on Simul TV and listen to the morning show on Channel 365. Tara Tarot is our special guest this hour, also known as the beloved Tara Greene in Toronto, Ontario. Her website is www.tarottarot.com. You know, this world is totally screwed up, and you know, you and I have discussed astrology many times on this show over the past. And if the astrology has been available to them, and I know that you've told me that there were, courts that would have an astrologer, and that astrologer would also give information to heads of states as well as to the business community and so on. I don't understand why the world is in such a chaotic state then if this information has been available years and years and years gone by.
Well, because the astrology is really about studying the symbols, the relationship of the planets, and in terms of what they call the Hermetic tradition, it's the quote is "as above, so below." So the planets don't make us do anything. They just give us a sense of order and timing, and things are going to flow in a certain way, right? I mean, it's a matter of, do people really listen to it? At one time they did, and they felt kind of more in awe of the planets, and it wasn't like science. It was like, the planets were gods and goddesses, but they were alive. They were archetypal, and we've kind of fallen away from that. And so, the world is just going through a lot of change, a lot of chaos, and that's, when we're ending an era, like the age of Pisces is ending, but there's a long period of chaos and change, and, people are resistant to change, but it's just the nature of the world, Yeah, I know it seems pretty, heavy, pretty crappy. I think a lot of veils are being lifted, especially with the planet Jupiter in Scorpio. All the sex abuse stuff is coming out. People are having to wake up from this naive, where the government's going to take care of you, or, there are nice people in the world, but there's a lot of insidious darkness here. And I think until you go into the darkness and understand that darkness, you're never really going to get to the light. Okay, so you have to see it all as a kind of a positive thing, It's just a natural, cyclical thing that we have to go through,
Earlier you mentioned the word spirituality. What is the difference, in your opinion, between spirituality and religious philosophy?
Religious philosophy, it depends what religion you're talking about. Religion to me is a belief system. It's a man-made belief system. There are some spiritual aspects to it. But, I believe that religion is just kind of organized to control people.
Okay, so isn't spirituality also man-made? Because without man, what's the difference here? This is what I want to get at. Okay,
well, spirituality, it depends on which philosophy or spirituality you're kind of leaning towards. In some sense it's, the whole universe is a spiritual universe. Everything, even matter, is spirit. It's matter is spirit kind of densified. The whole point, I think, is for us to discover that we are a part of this like holographic God consciousness, whatever, great mystery, whatever you want to call it. That's the whole point. Being in the third dimension is hard. Being born in this earth plane is a difficult thing. But people are becoming more aware of, angels, and being aware that the dream world is a world where they can be more aware and more awake. That you can choose to be loving and kind. Those are all the, the up-level spiritual things. The things that make you happy. You're loving your family, your children. Being kind, being nice. Those are all spiritual uplifting aspects. And so, the essence of any religion should be about loving kindness. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Not about our religion is better than yours,
Well, I think the aspect of our religion is better than yours is based on individuals, not the entire religious philosophy.
But I think that it's a cultural thing. Religion also controls culture, and I think it's kind of embedded. Do you know what I mean?
Not really.
The basic tenets of the religion may not be that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, don't forget, religion is how many thousands of years old, and, here we are in a society that knows or believes it knows everything it needs to know, where the people who actually came up with these philosophies, whether it's spiritual or religious, they were so many thousands of years ago when the knowledge, the base that they had to work with, was next to none compared to what we have today.
Yeah, but you're confusing scientific knowledge or intellectual knowledge with real spirit, and they're not opposed, but there is a difference, and this is the problem.
Well,
I think that people are actually more spiritual and more aware than we are now on many levels.
Well, if there is a real spirit, why doesn't everybody have it? Why do people have to go seeking it if it's real?
Because people have been put in the dark.
By who?
By governments, by religion, by some people say ETs. You know, some people feel like there's a very dark force that kind of cloaks the planet and controls people and lives off of fear and pain.
But is that an excuse for them not being able to cope in a fast-moving society and sustain a lifestyle that they would like, or is it a fact?
Wait, Rob, you kind of jumped there. Who are we talking about
We're
here?
talking about the people who are blaming the because there might be ETs, there might be a dark force over the world. There might, it could be the government.
Oh,
like,
I see. Blaming. Okay.
These sound like all excuses.
I think some people can see it that way. I don't think it's a blame thing. I think it's more of an awareness thing. You know, I mean, because everybody, you have to up-level your awareness to even entertain those kind of possibilities. Do you know what I mean? I know there's lots of conspiracy stuff, and
I don't buy into conspiracies. I don't buy into conspiracies. I don't buy into the extraterrestrial bullcrap that's out there either.
Okay.
You know, I'm a realist.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. That's fine. You know, so that you know in your heart. To me, the essence of spirituality is what you know in your heart. And people don't live from their hearts in the West. They live from their heads. Do you know what I mean?
I think there's a lot more people living from their hearts than their heads than are given credit.
Yes, I would say that, because most ordinary people are good, kind people. They don't want to do damage. They don't want to hurt anybody else. They don't want to have their families hurt, you know?
Exactly.
People want to avoid pain. Right?
And people want to, well, the people I know and the people that I'm surrounded with want to help other people who need help. And they want to make this a better place to live. And we all believe that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And who wants to be part of a problem these days?
Right, but the problem is very big. You know what I mean? And it's kind of at every level. So that's what I'm saying. The sense of you have to look at how it's embedded in every level. You know, like if you work for some company that you find out the whole thing like clothing companies. The clothing is being made by poor people in China making $2 a day. You know what I mean? Like that's not good energy. You see what I mean? On a spiritual level, those genes that you're wearing is imbued with the suffering of those people. So you don't buy those genes. You buy fair trade. You see what I mean? Where people are respected.
But what fair trade is, in my opinion, is based on the price the consumer has to pay. If you've got 4 or 5 kids and you've got one salary coming in, you can't tell me a mother who goes to Giant Tiger or to any other place that would sell these really looks at the fact, well, geez, a person in China was earning $2 to make these.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. You see what I mean? Because it's an economic problem, which can become a spiritual problem. I think they just released this stuff about, 42 billionaires have more money than 32% of the lowest end of the population in the world. That's sick.
Why is that sick? This is what life is about, accumulating, let me put it to you this way. If there's somebody out there who is a billionaire, good for them.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me.
Right.
And I think if it bothers anybody, that's because the person who it bothers are envious.
I don't think that. I think that, there was just, I was reading something about Davos, that financial thing that's going on now, and a lot of people were lobbying for, corporations to give back. There used to be a sense of that years ago, like in, all the billionaires who made money in the 1800s in the U.S. They used to, because they had tithing, which was a thing from the Christian church, there was ethics, people used to give back 10%.
But that was way back then. Times changed.
Yeah, I know. But it's fine. If you're Elon Musk and you make billions of dollars because you're a brilliant guy, I think he's a great guy, he wants to give back, then they do. They do give back and they benefit other people.
Well, sure. They also get a nice tax write-off. They're not stupid.
Yes, of course. I know that, too. Yeah. So, like in India where, you think it's such a spiritual place, the guy that's the richest man in India, Lakshmi, I forget his name, and he owns the steel companies, they think that he's the most spiritual person in the world because he manifested all this money and riches. So they don't see a split, really, between making a lot of money and being spiritual.
Well, I don't know. India is the filthiest country in the world. It really is.
Well, they have a lot of poverty still,
Well, that doesn't give them an excuse to go to the washroom on the street, for goodness sake.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah,
So
India
is... What can I say?
Okay. Okay. But a lot of the spiritual traditions come from there. They're thousands and thousands of years old.
Mm-hmm.
But they also had, a system of, the downtrodden, the untouchables, the caste system, keeping people down, It's definitely not democratic, So there's that, always that duality. We live in a dualistic universe, an incredibly beautiful earth, and yet, I feel like we're destroying it through pollution, through wrecking the environment, the animals, it could be the most gorgeous place on earth. And there is technology that can clean it up if those people are allowed to do that. I keep thinking that, there's big corporations that just don't want that.
Stand by, Tara. We've got to take our break at the bottom of the hour for the news. Exonation Tara Greene is our special guest. www.taratarot.com, and we'll be back on the other side as we continue here in the X Zone on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and iHeartRadio.
Our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond. You're watching the X Zone Broadcast Network. www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Demo.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is.
For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Tara Greene is our special guest. Tara is in Toronto, Ontario. And if you'd like to contact Tara for a one-on-one consultation, either tarot or astrology or any of the other fine things that Tara does, visit her website at www.taratarot.com. That's TAROT.com. What was the start of astrology? Who invented it, or how was it discovered? And to know where the planets are and the effects of the planets, the constellations, the sun and the moon, how was this all put together?
Well, okay. So as far as we know, the traditions that were comes from India, actually, about 8,000 to 10,000 years ago. And I think actually it's a natural thing. You know, you have to think about people who were living in their little villages, and somebody was always up all night watching. Do you know what I mean? Keeping watch. And so they were watching the stars. They were watching the movement of the planets. And, I think we innately feel spiritually that we come from the stars, that literally we are stardust, So there's always that sense of longing to kind of return home. So people all over the world, there's different traditions where they saw different images, and they would realize that over the course of long periods of time that eclipses happened regularly at, every 18 years at the same place in the sky. So, I think this was an oral tradition for a long time, or written down in some kind of temporary format. And people felt that the stars and the planets were like gods, and they were speaking to them. And that was your sense of being in touch or being part of the universe. Okay? So I think it's part of a kind of really innate, archetypal sense of belonging. What's my place in the universe? How do we have order? Because the universe is it's geometry, it's mathematics, it's ordered, So in terms of feeling that life has always been chaotic, I think people always feel that way. The sense of order was to watch the stars and the planets and these eclipses and feel like, yes, there was an order to the universe. Okay?
Right.
And then over the course of thousands of years, it migrated to China. China has their own sort of system that they interpret it. The zodiac zodiac means animals. So they've kept their 12 signs as 12 animals. And then when it went west, it went to Egypt and Babylon, and then the Greeks, and then the Arabs were big astronomers and astrologers. So astronomy and astrology were once, and being a doctor, were once the same description. That was the same shingle.
Oh, I see.
So people would diagnose diseases through looking at your astrology chart.
So
all of this was very mathematical. They have to draw and calculate by hand and with astrolabes, and it was a science. Now I think astronomers hate astrologers and they think it's pseudoscience, but it's a very long tradition, and in India it's a legal science today.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah. I'm just looking over some of the predictions that you did for us in 2016 when you were on the show. Let me see, when was the date on this? Craig, can you tell me in my headphones, please? You said it's right on the sheet of paper. Here we are. February 2. No, that wasn't it. February the 2nd. Tuesday, February the 2nd, 2016.
Okay.
And let me see. We can talk about the prediction in the world events, presidential election, spirituality, which we did. Some of the things that you told us was that you were concerned about a civil war with no clean boundaries and problems on election day. And there were none. You also said that Obama may stay in power, which he didn't. You also predicted originally that you believed that Hillary Clinton was going to get in. Then you changed it to Bernie Sanders.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is, I remember when I looked at this a long time ago. At first, I thought it was Hillary Clinton, and then it totally went black.
Really?
And I should have really interpreted that as Hillary was out. That that there was the blackness just meant she was blacked out.
Really?
I mean, I think a lot of astrologers, honestly, very few of them predicted Trump would win. So it was like we have to look at where, their own liberal, you have to keep your own personal politics out of these predictions. You see what I mean? It's very important. You have to be neutral, right? And not everybody's correct 100% of the time, and that's that's fine too. I mean, to me, I just thought that it was things were going to change and things were unpredictable. And when I look back at it now, if I'd looked at certain specific charts, I would have realized it would have been very easy to predict Trump. But there was very few people that actually predicted Trump. I mean, literally. Three or four.
How many? You said different charts. How many charts are there? Are you meaning the birth chart of somebody?
Oh, there's hundreds. No. There's hundreds of ways to look at what the factors are when you make predictions. You see. So, for example, if I looked at the U.S. has an astrology chart. Corporations have an astrology chart. If I looked at that chart and I put it together with Donald Trump's, I would have said yes, absolutely. And then there's also what they call progress charts, where a progress chart is where you progress, for example, a person or the U.S.'s chart up to a certain date in the future, and everything is changed internally, and then you line those things up, right? And you make predictions based on that.
Now,
you base the prediction.
Now, the fact that you're a clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, as well as an astrologer and a tarot card reader, when somebody comes to you for a reading, do you use all of those gifts that you have? I do, because to me it's like I want to tap into as many different factors as possible. And so these days when I read for somebody, I have their birth information, I have their birth chart, and that becomes like a portal to me. So it is a very intuitive tool, and it's very good for predicting timing of events. So I have to juggle my intuition with what I'm seeing, with what I'm knowing, with what I pick up, and then I do the tarot cards as well, and I use their numerology. So, again, I like to give it a very wide net. Right.
And, so I just like to use it that way these days. It just seems more richer to me.
We also talked the last time you were with us about past life regression. Is this becoming more and more popular?
Yeah, that's becoming very popular these days because I think people realize that whatever blocks they have in the present are things that they've carried with them from the past. And, you have to do this there's hypnosis. Past life regression is based on hypnosis, working with your dreams. There is a way to do it with astrology as well. And I think people want to feel like they want to clear up their past so they can be fully in the present.
Are people reporting to you or discussing with you a definite change in dream patterns these days?
Yes, very much so. I'm glad you mentioned that, Rob, because my sense is that people are having really lucid dreams. They've been very scary, actually, quite violent the last few days. And actually, I was on Facebook, and I started a thread asking people, have they been noticing this? And a lot of people said yes. And
wow.
They were reporting that they feel like they're dreaming about other people's experiences and a lot of murders and threats and really super heavy stuff.
My goodness.
And people...
I said, my goodness, it must be awful for them.
Yeah, and so one girl who said she had been threatened by a man who was going to strangle her, and she woke up screaming in her dream, I kind of said, well, I think you're picking up on, what's being released. There's something called the collective unconscious. So whatever's going on in the world, like, for example, this women's movement where all these women are admitting how sexually abused they've been, and there's millions of women, that is an energy, and so you can pick that up in the dream world. And I asked her, I said, has this happened to you? She said, no. She said, I thought it was like somebody else's reality. And I said, well, you probably are picking up on that reality. And I said, it's actually a good thing. You can go back into that dream and deal with that person, that man who was threatening her, and tell him to go screw himself, and kind of, finish that dream, so it's actually a good thing, you know what I mean?
Sure.
You're kind of becoming aware. It's all about awareness to me, the more aware you are, the more power you have. The more choices you have.
Is there any correlation, in your opinion, between the change of the dream pattern and the increase in microwave activity due to cell towers and as well as the wireless technology that surrounds us?
That's very possible, too, because that Wi-Fi stuff does affect brain patterns. generally I think it's not a good thing,
Right.
Having all the Wi-Fi cell phone towers, having a phone near you. I mean, it can be very disturbing. People don't usually think about that, but I believe there is. I don't know if there's been actual studies done, but I would feel intuitively that it's true. Also, we're affected by, the solar flares that happen and things like that, and those affect people's energy too, and I've been feeling those a lot lately. And for me, I get very dizzy.
Oh, no.
And it's literally like you get vertigo. My husband gets it too. My daughter tends to get headaches, but we all feel it at the same time. And we all go, wait, are you starting to feel that? It feels like a solar flare. And then I go and check it out. You can go to this website called Solar Ham, and NASA has, imaging where they can tell you what's going on in the world. These are things that we were never aware of before.
That is true, but once again, this is one of the advantages, the advantages of technology today. And
absolutely.
Technology has its pros and its cons, and one of the cons I see is when I see children wasting their lives inside instead of enjoying the great outdoors and getting fat because they don't believe in exercise, and instead of socializing using the verbal skills, they use their electronic devices. I find this is a very sad thing for children, and I just wish to God somebody would do something about it. What's going to happen the day there's another solar flare that knocks out all this technology?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, you see. All it would take was one big solar flare, and everything could be knocked out.
Stand by, Tara. We've got to take
how vulnerable they are.
Tara, we've got to take our final break. Please stand by.
Yeah.
Exonation, Tara Taro's our special guest, www.tarataro.com. And we'll be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Following me tonight on the X-Zone Broadcast Network is my good friend Larry Lawson, the host of Paranormal Stakeout. And his guest tonight is going to be Terry Rode, a paranormal traveling investigator. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Don't go. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com. The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
I'm William S. Peckham. If you enjoy a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. Slums just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes, finds a locket or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
Tara Greene is our special guest, www.taratarot.com. And Tara, you're also into, and you've completed formal studies with many teachers in Native American shamanism, Wicca, dance, women's spirituality, transpersonal psychotherapy, past life regression, and Tibetan Buddhism. Where do you find all the time to do all these things? Plus,
I did this over many years, yeah. Rob, and when I was younger, I had teachers that I worked with, and I'm very grateful for them and for that kind of teaching and having that kind of eclectic approach. So they just sort of, I was very lucky that they appeared in my life, right? And definitely, I'd had dreams about them before. So it was kind of like a deja vu experience, right, going through those things. I had put out energy that I wanted to find, for example, a woman shaman teacher after I'd read, Carlos Castaneda's books when I was in my 20s. And then, like years later, I realized, wow, here she is, So, we always need to keep learning and growing. And now it's more like I sit and I meditate and I just, trust I need time to kind of tune in. I also wanted to mention that, people want positive things. And so,
right.
Sorry.
No, I said right when you said people want positive things. Yeah.
Yeah, positive things. So, I feel like 2018 already, in a way I've heard people saying that they already feel it's way better than 2017. A lot of people felt like 2017 was really heavy and kind of like everybody was in a fog, and it's much more realistic this year and much more grounded. So when you're talking about, people being more practical or parents being more disciplined, I think all of that is going to come in. I think there's going to be an old-fashioned return to, order, discipline over the next few years. Also that 2018 reduces to the number 11, so it is a master number, and the whole phenomenon about 1111, right?
Yeah.
So this year I think a lot of people are very excited about that. To me, 11 is about remembering who you really are, that you are an infinite being. You're not just this human being. You're a soul having a physical experience, and people being aware of that. And then number 11 reduces to the number 2. And in the tarot, the number 2 is the archetype or the symbol of what's called the high priestess. So she is very empowering for women, and we can already see that happening with the Women's March. She's like the moon. So a big overall emphasis of listening to your intuition, to the dreams, to magic, to mystery. There's a huge upsurge of women doing magic and witchcraft and rituals and runes and all of this esoteric stuff is becoming really powerful. Women working with the moon cycle.
Why not?
Everybody knows this now.
In my opinion, it's about time women were given the credit that they have been so long overdue.
Yes.
It's about time, because I've always said that, women rule the world whether you want to believe it or not.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got Mother Nature. The major countries in the world who have thrived and progressed were ruled by women. Nefertiti in Egypt. You had Mary Queen of Scots in Scotland, Queen Elizabeth in the United Kingdom, and Angela Merkel in Germany, and the list goes on and on and on. So bravo to the ladies who are leading this cause. It's about time.
Yeah, it is about time. Well, that's their motto, time's up kind of, So I think that's going to be a huge change, and that's just sort of being started now. And it's going to take years. And, for example, in the States, they need to ratify an Equal Rights Amendment, which has been on the books for 100 years. That, you need to have real laws to back up that women have equal rights. So that needs to get real. So that's what I'm saying. I think there is going to be a movement to all this. We started out talking about all this change. It needs to come down to being very practical, very realistic. Here's the laws. They did just actually in Norway or Iceland. Iceland is like the most advanced country in the world. Make it illegal to pay a woman any less than a man for any job. If it's equal labor.
I agree with that, and I can't understand why our governments haven't done that.
I know.
From the
it's
day
crazy
one.
when you think about it, right?
It is.
So it's like people are kind of waking up and going, what kind of nonsense is this we've been living under?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's like the veil is being lifted. Like I think we have been in the dark,
Mm-hmm.
and we are kind of waking up and going, wait, none of this makes any sense. You know, so that sense of common sense, you know, people used to have common sense. Like, yes, your kids should
Yeah.
not be, you know, sitting on a computer all day and not being in reality. You know, I think there is going to be a big shift into that. I think that's a good thing.
My good Lord, when I was a kid at 7 o'clock Saturday morning, my mother was using the beater brush under our beds, and we had hardwood floors.
Right.
You know, you got up, you went out, you played. The only time you came back in was at lunchtime. After lunch, went back out, and then you came back in at supper time. And then you went back out until the street lights came on.
Right.
You know, and you know what? I
Well,
think
do you
we're
watch, do you
better
watch
off.
that program, Stranger Things?
No, I'm sorry. No, I don't.
Oh,
I
you
watch
haven't
very
seen it?
little TV.
Okay. So it's kind of like an 80s nostalgia thing, but in
Okay.
it, you know, they're young teens, but they're out playing, they're walking in the woods, they're
Yeah.
free, you know. So I think that people are getting this yearning for, wow, we don't really have any freedom that way
Yeah.
because we're not connected to the land, you know. We're not able to go out and play.
I think that people aren't as grounded as they used to be when they used to take time to smell the roses.
Yes, that's true.
You know, I also know that from our past experience and knowing you over the years that you have worked and studied with the Native Americans and the Native Canadians. And are they getting any more recognition that they deserve, or are they still...
No, I think they are fighting for their
Yeah.
rights, and there's a big reclamation that's been going on, and you know, people saying you can't use our spirituality. I think there's a lot of fake, phony shamans out there that are
big
kind
time,
of
yeah.
appropriating,
Yeah.
and they're coming down pretty heavy on that because it is their culture, you know. And I think that's a good thing. But again, it's going to take time. You know, it's going to take time for that to happen.
So how would a listener listening tonight know the difference between a real shaman, like yourself, who has taken the courses, and you were a pipe carrier and ceremonial leader, so that means that, you know, you are the real McCoy. How would people know the difference between a real shaman and a fake internet shaman?
Okay. Well, I think if people are promising you they're going to too much change your life, you know what I mean, instant, you know, blah, 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 and sometimes charging, you know, outrageous prices, that might be a sense of no, because traditionally you're not allowed to charge for ceremonies anyway. There would be an exchange, you know what I mean, bartering traditionally. Of course, we don't live in that culture, but, and I would really go with someone who's authentically Native, you know, although from a spiritual perspective, there's a lot of people who came back, I would say now, witches who were burned at the stake, all these women who are embracing witchcraft and magic and Harry Potter, I believe that they were all women who were burned at the stake years ago. So I would say that it doesn't really, in some senses, it doesn't really matter if they're not Native, but in a sense, I would say at this point, you would want to look at somebody's credentials. You know what I mean? Like, check it out, you know, have they had the experience, you know?
But if you're looking at somebody who's Native American or Native Canadian, isn't that stereotyping?
It is, and you have to be careful. I'm not saying that, you know, people are people, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that there can't be phony people doing that too, you know, and there are. I know people that are running off to do the ayahuasca ceremonies in Peru, and I've heard lots of horror stories, you know.
I know,
because
so
there's
have I.
Money involved.
Exactly, exactly. It's
yeah, there's money involved. So, you know, you have to, you know, buyer beware. Trust your intuition. I think it's very important. You have to go, does this guy feel right to me, or does this woman feel right to me? You know, are they authentic? Are they honoring the traditions? So you have to kind of get a little knowledgeable yourself, you know, before you trust people, you know.
Anything awe-inspiring to share with the audience about 2018?
I think 2018 is going to be an amazing year. I think people really need to meditate, to listen to their intuition, to understand, to remember who you really are.
How's the best way to meditate, in your opinion?
You don't have to sit in a lotus position, but it's really all about just getting out of your head. I have a little exercise where I literally take my hands and put them near my head, and I draw the energy out of my head down into my heart chakra.
Yeah.
And then you can tap. There's a little gland there, right on the sternum there. If you tap lightly, you know, there's about EFT tapping. You just tap on that, and it'll kind of awaken your heart. So you just visualize, or you feel, I'm in my heart. That's the brain center is really the heart. That's what the Tibetan Buddhists believe. The brain is really just the operating system. If you kind of think through your heart, you're not really going to go wrong.
So, in your opinion, where is the soul? Is it in the brain or in the heart?
No, the soul is ephemeral. It doesn't really, you know what I mean? It's spiritual. It would be associated more with the heart, not with the brain. Although in essence, it is all spiritual, right? But it's infinite. It's not tangible. Do you know what I mean? That's the essence of it.
Right. So where do you believe that consciousness resides? In the heart or in the brain?
Well, I think it's both, but ultimately, according to spiritual traditions, it would be through the heart. Karmic glue is the emotional glue that brings us together. That sense when you see somebody, you go like, wow, I have this amazing energy with them. That's the karmic glue that brought you together. People that say, wow, it was love at first sight. That's a karmic connection.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Did you know that when you saw your wife she was the one?
Yeah, she told me she was.
So she knew, right? So a lot of people experience that. You just have to look at your own feelings. I think that people just don't register that that's what it is.
Well, Tara,
I think people need to be educated. Yeah.
Well, Tara, the time has come when you and I must say so long. I want to thank you so much for joining us in Exo Nation. If you would like to contact Tara Tarot for a one-on-one consultation, once again, her website is www.taratarot.com. That's www.taratarot.com. And I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And we're heard around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, the X Zone Broadcast Network, and there's a number of networks and affiliates we do not mention because we wouldn't have enough time. But don't forget, we're always available on iHeartRadio as well. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com, or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.